Today I'm so excited. I can't believe Hikaru just played one of my favorite Gambits against the Scandinavian defense, which I recommended in the video that has popped up in the card above. In fact, one of the videos that brought me on the limelight. So the Leonard Gambit arises from the Scandinavian defense, where you take, and after queen takes, you go knight c3 attacking the queen, and after queen a5, you don't play knight f3 or bishop c4 first. The move is pawn to b4, attacking the queen. Now wait a second. The first time I presented this gambit, I was heavily criticized. Oh my god. People were sending all sorts of comments. Stop teaching people rubbish, useless teacher, pointless study, dubious gambit. Nah, Casper, you have a big nose, long elbows, small eyeballs, and all sorts of things. Anyway, and then to my surprise, I decided to check the master's database, and I found that, in fact, Hikaru has played this gambit several times, even in over-the-board games and in other competitive tournaments. Like, for example, you can see in the Masters database, Hikaru played this against Alireza Firouzja and against GM Ronin in 2007. And before I show you the Alireza game, the main area of my meat in today's video is this. This is the video that was published by Hikaru yesterday, where he was blitzing some locals in Marrakesh. And so be sure to check that video out on Hikaru's channel. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the live footage of that game. So stay tuned. Let's begin with the theory of the Leonard Gambit. After pawn to b4 attacking the queen, if queen takes b4, which is what Stockfish recommends to do, and the right move, the idea is not to go rook b1 anyway, although that's what Hikaru likes doing. We'll look at that. The move to consider here is knight b5, a tricky move by the way, intending to take on c7 and then win the rook on a8. What most black players love doing here, if you check the Lichess database, is to play queen a5, somehow protecting the c7 pawn and maybe running away from the upcoming rook b1. From here, the move you can play is bishop c4 by the way. And look at this, the top played move in the Lichess database is pawn to c6, which is a blunder, because now you can easily sacrifice your bishop on f7 with check, and if king takes, which is even worse, you now go queen h5 check. If pawn to g6, you simply go knight d6 check, sacrificing your knight, and after pawn takes, you take the free queen on a5. So you can see that even super grandmasters believe in my elbow gambits. Anyway, subscribe to this channel, you guys. Don't be jealous. Right, but say black doesn't play pawn to g6 after you give them a check. What if they play king f6? Well, the best continuation is to involve as many pieces as you can. So bishop b2 check, and after pawn to e5, you just remember not to take with the queen, even though that is playable. The move is bishop takes e5 check. And the idea is if king e6, you now go knight c7 check, and then on the next move, whatever black does, you simply meet them on e8, like this. Your knight is defended by the bishop, by the way. Or say if black plays, say this, again, you simply go knight c7, going for the same checkmate sequence, which your opponents are not going to see, by the way. Miraculously, if your opponents try to, stop the mate, you simply have bishop f6 check, and on the next move, you grab the free queen. Besides, there's this coming. Once again, after giving a check on h5, if they play king e6 this time, the simplest is to go knight d4 check, and on the next move win that poor queen. And I'm sure Hikaru knows this little trick, but for some reason he just loves rook b1. Now let's say black takes, and then after you go knight b5, which Stockfish doesn't really like, then black plays knight a6. Whoa, now you can't go bishop c4, obviously, and you don't have knight takes c7. So the best you can do here is to go knight f3. Besides, there is also this interesting move where you play bishop a3. Let's just go knight f3 in this position. If queen e4 check, by the way, the game goes back to equal. As you can see by the eval bar, you will play bishop e2, and after pawn to e6, you will simply cast a shot and continue playing actively, not passively. Suppose black doesn't go queen e4 check. After you play knight f3, they might try pawn to c6. And remember that you can't go bishop a3 due to queen e4 check, and you're going to lose your knight. So the best you can do is just to play knight a3, and then after bishop g4, pinning the knight. Now the game goes back to equal, as you can see from the eval bar. In fact, here the main move is to take the knight and mess up black's pawns on the queen side. But the other move I would recommend is this tricky move, bishop c4. Not objectively the best, but you know what we want to do. If black takes, you will be cool. If they play pawn to e6, that's when you can now take on a6 and mess up their pawn structure on the queen side. This will be an equal game and maybe even better for you. If they choose to rescue their knight somehow like this, you have so many things that you can do. First of all, bishop takes f7 is great. If king takes, you have knight e5 check, and whatever black does, you pick up that bishop. If you don't like this line, you can also try rook b1. You want to target this pawn. Say queen a4 is played. Now this is when you can take on f7. See that you brought the rook into the game first, and after king takes, you go knight e5 check. Same stuff, just like we saw before. Now it's just a matter of castling short. If queen e4 check, this time you can even play knight e3 and your g2 pawn is well protected, and also you are ready to castle short. The other refutational line after queen takes b4 and knight b5 is where black plays queen c5, stopping you from capturing on c7 and also stopping you from playing bishop c4. Well, the move you can play here is simply pawn to d4. Attacking that queen, and the top played move in the Leech's database is queen c6 for some reason. Maybe they still don't want you to go bishop c4, but hey, you can just keep on pushing. Pawn to d5, once again they go queen c5. Now this is when you can go rook b1, and for some reason you can see in the Leech's database pawn to s6 is by far the top played move, which allows you to go bishop e3, trapping the queen instantly. I mean, it has nowhere to go. So again, after queen takes b4 and knight b5, instead of queen a5 or queen c5, the other move you're going to see your opponents playing is queen e4 check. And this has happened to me several times. Black just wants to grab the second free pawn on g2, but that doesn't work well. For example, you can just go bishop e2. If queen takes g2, by the way, this is somehow bad because you have bishop f3. First of all, chasing this queen away, and then you take on c7 with check. Next, you're going to win the rook. So after bishop e2, black doesn't have to take on g2. That's a bad move. You will see them playing knight a6, stopping you from capturing on c7. But now you can simply develop your knight and probably on the next move, castle short, or start with pawn to d4 first. If pawn to c6, you simply retreat your knight back to c3, attacking the queen. And after queen a5, the top played move, pinning your knight to the king, you simply go bishop d2, and then on the next move, castle short, putting your king to safety. So you see, there's so much you can do in the Leonard Gambit, even if black doesn't fall for your bishop takes f7 trap. Now, some of you might ask, what if black doesn't take the b4 pawn? Well, that's what we are going to see in Hikaru's game. So keep on watching. You will see how Hikaru punished his opponent for not taking the b4 pawn. By the way, the correct line begins with queen takes b4. Sorry to show you this. After knight b5, you go queen a5. And if bishop c4 is played, you don't focus on this side of the board. Don't play pawn to c6. The move is knight f6, which stops queen h5. So in this position, there is no bishop takes because black can gladly take back, and you won't have queen h5 check because of this knight. So knight f6 is a great refutational line, but even after this, as white, you can just continue with normal development, knight f3, shamelessly. And after pawn to s6, you go knight b d4. Black should play pawn to c5. According to theory, if pawn to e5, you just retreat your knight to b5. So this is how both players can continue playing an equal game, and that's how you're supposed to defend this Leonard Gambit as black. Now, let's look at what Hikaru likes doing after queen takes b4. Instead of playing knight b5, which is a little bit shaky, Hikaru likes playing the main line rook b1, attacking the queen, because at least this time, black doesn't have queen e4 check. The top played move is queen d6 in this position, after which you now go bishop c4 or pawn to d4. We are now following the game between Hikaru versus Firouzja Alireza, which was played in April 2020, where Hikaru played pawn to d4 in this position. In the game, Alireza played queen d8, and then Hikaru played bishop c4, knight f6 was played, knight f3, pawn to e6, castle short, bishop e7, knight e5, castle short by Alireza, rook e1 by Hikaru, and then we saw the first mistake by Alireza, pawn to c5. You can tell by the eval bar things are not good for black. In this position, Hikaru played the correct move, pawn to d5, e takes d5 was played, and then knight takes d5. Already things are bad. Alireza was supposed to take on d5 just to oversimplify things, but he played bishop e6, which was even worse according to Stockfish because of knight takes f7 sacrifice. So you see these ideas, you guys. This is why Hikaru likes playing these aggressive gambits. If you want, keep on calling these gambits dubious or whatever, but as long as Hikaru believes in them, or Magnus, I'm cool. Anyway, Alireza took with the king, cause if bishop takes, there was going to be knight takes e7 check, and after king h8, Hikaru was going to win a free bishop and become up a piece. Similarly, if rook takes, Hikaru was going to take on e7, and say after queen takes, there was going to be rook takes e6. So that's why in the game, after knight takes f7, Alireza took back with the king, but still this didn't work well due to rook takes, and then after king takes, there was knight takes f6 discovery check. After king takes f6, there was queen f3 check, king e5, queen g3 check, and after king d4, Hikaru played bishop b2 check, and Alireza resigned because the king was almost trapped. By the way, as you can see, if king takes, Hikaru had this mate in one. And also if king e4, I guess Hikaru would have played queen e5 check, shockingly. So this is game number 1 that demonstrates how to play the Leonard Gambit the way Hikaru plays it with this rook b1 move. The second example game that Hikaru played back in 2007 against GM Ronin was this one, which also started with Scandinavian defense, and then after pawn to b4, black took the pawn as per theory, and then after rook b1, Ronin played queen d6 as usual, the top played move. Again, this happened over the board. In the Alireza game, Hikaru played pawn to d4 in this position, followed by knight f3 and all that. But in this game, Hikaru started with bishop c4, tricky. Then black played knight f6, somehow stopping queen h5 in the near future. Then Hikaru continued with knight f3. After a6, this is when Hikaru played pawn to d4, b5 was played, then bishop b3. After bishop b7, Hikaru castled short, pawn to e6, rook e1, just a developing move by the way, bishop e7, then knight g5. What is Hikaru doing on g5? I mean, there's no checkmate, right? Maybe he is provoking a weakness. This is what grandmasters love doing, just attacking, and putting their pieces on strategic squares. Maybe after pawn to h6, Hikaru was not even going to retreat his knight. I see the move knight takes f7. Just like we saw in the Alireza game, so that after king takes, now he could take back with his rook and maybe cause some chaos. Black has to be very careful here. In fact, Stockfish recommends that black should give up his queen, and this is winning at human level. Anyway, so that's why Hikaru played knight g5. Now you can see how Hikaru plays his gambits, you guys. In the game, black played knight d5, which was equally a bad move according to Stockfish, because now Hikaru had this move, knight c e4, which he played. This guy is very good at finding the best moves. This is what grandmasters are good at. They are very good when it comes to identifying their opponent's blunders. Queen d7, Hikaru played queen h5, trying to take on f7. Black took the knight, and then once again, instead of taking the bishop, Hikaru played the top played move knight c5. See what I'm talking about, you guys? After knight f6, counter-attacking the queen, Hikaru took on g5 correctly while attacking the queen and the bishop. So queen c6 was played by black, and then here Stockfish wants Hikaru to sacrifice on e6 with the knight, but he did it with the bishop, which brought the evil bar down because this allowed black to castle short. If it was a knight which was on e6, at least black wasn't going to castle short. So bishop takes allowed black to castle short, putting his king to safety, and then Hikaru just retreated his bishop back and started afresh. Knight bd7, knight takes, queen g3, queen c6, bishop b2. Anyways, the game went on, and surprisingly, it took so long to end. Like 63 moves later in the game, that's when black resigned. Right. Now that you know how to play the Leonard Gambit correctly, like the way Hikaru does, let me show you the live footage of yesterday's game where Hikaru was playing against some locals in Marrakesh, and I hope you will enjoy. But before we proceed, I have some bad news for you guys. This will probably be your last time to hear my voice ever again, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel. because that's just how the YouTube algorithm works. So be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Let's go! Now, time for you to go and check out my new E5 defense course, which I have also linked in the comment section down below. And I'm glad to say, so far it has received a lot of attention and people are getting it like crazy. So it's an opening response that you try against White's E4 opening. You're going to learn how to play against the Scotch, the Royal Pace, the Bishop's opening, 3 Knights opening, the 4 Knights game, the Vienna game, even the Italian game. So it's the complete E5 defense course that I just launched with my team. You better go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.